Hello, welcome to another housecoat chat, folks. Your dude in the housecoat. It's Friday the 13th. It's been almost 3 weeks since I made a video. I apologize, but busy living life and procrastinating and everything else in between. I know, the world's been crazy and you're all waiting to hear from the dude in the housecoat to say what's going on in the world. Well, I can honestly tell you that it is a crazy world out there, very crazy. It's also a very nice world as well. We can't always think that it's doom and gloom and everything else and stuff. But I will say, in this country of elbows up, where the frick are you people now, huh? Are you regretting your vote? Are you considering, like maybe you made a mistake and didn't realize you just fell into an authoritarian trap? Because look at our government, it ain't functioning, no budget, and we got a guy saying one thing and then doing another, or just double speaking, right? We will build a pipeline. No, we will not build a pipeline, right? Canadian values or Muslim values. I mean, I would say some values of Muslims are Canadian values, but not the atrocities that we see that still go on to this day. I mean, really, wow and wow. I mean, the pandering by our politicians is amazing. I will say this: when are they actually saying anything to old stock Canadians, right? The ones that were born here. My father's not born here. He's been in here for a very, very long time. I was born here and such. My dad emigrated from all places, Australia. Yes, Australia. Good day, mate. Put another shrimp on the barbie. You know, those people with the kangaroos and the animals that can kill you more than in Canada, right? Wow. What a country, beautiful place. Was there approximately 20 years ago, could be almost 20 plus. Asked for a wedding of my cousin. It was very, very nice and a very beautiful country, and I'm glad I got to spend a month in Australia. Alrighty, folks, what can I say about Mark Carney that maybe you already know or you don't know? Is that holy crap, this man is going to ram through everything that he wants. That's the way he is. He is not here to be a politician to pander to anybody other than to his globalist friends and European allies that he's so much in touch with since he spent time over there. And same with his wife, Deanna Fox Carney. Yes, she is a wonderful person as well. The people that they brought in to sit in the Privy Council and the PMO's office do not want to see oil leaving the ground anymore. Interviews from 2021, folks. Diana Fox Carney and the guy that's in the PMO's office. His name don't really matter. I will tell you. Go read. I did. Name's not here off the top of my head, but that's besides the point because I'm here for fun to wake you up and say, hey, what? We got people that are just getting appointed favors, right? The guy who shut down everybody's bank account in the Freedom Convoy, the fastest raising thing, $8 million in a week for a political event. Nobody in the history of Canada has ever done that. That is why the establishment, ivory tower, global homos are so fearful of us peasants, right? And after they squashed our freedom movement, people are hesitant. But thanks to Trudeau and all the people that were immigration ministers from 2015 up to today, we are constantly getting more and more people coming into this country. 800,000 people just in the first 4 months in Canada. 800,000 people. 190 or 80,000 people, I believe, left last year, permanently gone. Lots of them are smart, rich people, and they are taking their money and their IIQs elsewhere because this country is going down the drain despite all the rhetoric of elbows up, elbows up. I mean, my God. And what's the other one I heard? Oh, we got Big Daddy Carney. My God, govern me harder, people. When did we go from a society where we didn't really want the government involved into our lives to now they're going to dictate to us when we're sick? Would you like MAID? You might consider MAID because MAID is a cheaper way than going on and trying to get yourself better. So consider made before consider yourself getting healed. And they already set it up that way where your application for MAID will be quicker than your knee MRI. And as a sidebar side note, I noticed online a family traveled to China. And I mean, I would like to go to China, but they got an MRI for under 200 bucks, got the printout of their MRI, got to see a doctor. Meanwhile, in Canada, he's still waiting for an MRI, and for 200 bones, he was able to go to China and get one. Something is seriously wrong in our medical hospital side of business in this country. Seriously, too many people in high heels and dress shoes, not enough nurses in nursing shoes and doctors in their doctor shoes. They can go golf after, but I was almost going to say in their golf shoes. Yes, folks, our country is backwards. I mean, I saw food prices out of Norway. They're freaking cheaper than us, and you would think they were more expensive because Europe tends to be more expensive than us. And we are paying through the nose for food, and yet I just heard somebody paid $62 for 2 liters of olive oil in the Vancouver area, $11 for pit sticks, and your government's telling you we're going to make us more prosperous. Well, let's just take a look down south. They are getting more prosperous. Despite all the riots and all that, and all the stuff that you see on the news, the United States, is actually firing off on all cylinders. Yes, there is growth, new businesses, factories are popping up to either to make chips, car companies are moving in, manufacturing is almost coming back into the United States because of these tariff things. And lo and behold, folks, Carney is going to give our, I guess, the rights to sell our resources to whoever we choose to give the United States a veto on our sales of critical minerals, oil, and gas projects. I am mixed on this, but I will say years ago during the Harper era, there was a mine in northern BC that was bought out by the Chinese Communist Party mining affiliate thing. Yes, there is such a thing. Go watch a show called China Uncensored, and you will get a better grasp of what I am talking about. Like I said, folks, I am a dude in a house coat. Do your own reading. It is important that you do. But back to Harper and this coal mine. The coal mine that's operated by the Chinese company brought in their own people to work the mine, despite the Canadian people having tickets, the proper training, everything else for the job. But they refused and were given special permission to use their own people. Just like I would like to talk about David Eby in a few, but the ferry story, my God, built for Canada. Where's the steel in the ferries that are being built in China? Where's the Canadian steel? Where's the Canadian job? Apparently, no Canadian shipbuilding company actually bid on the project. And you want to know why? Because of the carbon tax, folks. I mean, yes, they scrapped it, but this project, these things were in line and like lockstep, so to speak, to be procured, and yet no Canadian company bid on the project because they already were outbid by our own policies set out by the federal and provincial governments regarding carbon tax and a host of other things. But yes, China is going to get the money, folks. No jobs, our tax dollars going that way. And everybody that works for BC Ferries had a huge dinner. It's crazy, I know. But people, let's just try and have some humor in all this. And also, let's just say, like the tariff business, they're saying the tariff, we're going to stick it to the Americans. Our tariff that we slapped on the Americans, we are the ones that pay, not the Americans. So, yes, things are getting more expensive for us. And it's just unreal. I mean, food prices are insane. We are importing beef from Australia. Why? We have the land here, folks, to have the cattle. And in 1989, we had a heck of a lot more cattle in this country, with population that I would dare say almost a third less than it is today. And why are we importing beef? Seriously, why is this beef from Australia coming all the way across the ocean? not having to pay a carbon tax on a single mile until it gets to Canada. And yet, when it travels from the port in Vancouver and it ends up in Toronto, that meat has frickin' traveled, folks, and you're paying half the price of Canadian. Make that make sense. Our tomatoes are more expensive than Mexican tomatoes. Our strawberries are more expensive than American strawberries. Why? Because of our policies set out by the government. Our milk prices are high. Why? Because of supply chain management, dumping millions of liters of fuel and everything else out of fuel, milk and such, and being wasted when we could do a whole lot more, right? Imagine if we could all have $1 off a jug of milk. Seriously, if they're dumping milk that bad, that means that they could sell it cheaper, but they won't. And it's not the farmers in a way, folks. It is the people in the supply chain and higher up, these CEOs, just like in healthcare, folks. Oh, we must have this important person making $500,000 of taxpayer salary just so that we could call nurses or try and micromanage all of our nurses and all of our hospitals by having all these different management types like vice presidents of this, vice presidents of that, whatever. Our thing should be streamlined. There should actually be more nurses and doctors, blood works people, the care aides, the janitors, than we should have of people doing clickety clack on a keyboard and having meetings and lunches on our dime or making meetings, elsewhere and flying there on our dime. When the most important thing that should happen in healthcare is making you or I healthier or better if we need it, right? Oh, goodness gracious, I'm on a rant. It is Friday. I wanted to try and do a show every Friday called Long Hair Friday, have a free flowing rant. And that's kind of what I'm doing and such. And you know what? Enough about Carney, but let's get to Evie. Oh my goodness, the latest thing that I would like to talk about, and I know YouTube doesn't like it when people talk about it, but there is a judge who let a man off for just having a moderate amount of illicit material on young children. That's all I will say. And I will say this, and I think most of you will agree. The dude in the house coat says there is no such thing as a modest amount of this illicit material. There is one and too many. That is it. If it's on your computer, on your devices, and you have access to children, no, nay, nay. This judge should actually be disbarred, in my opinion. That's why I think we should have to elect judges, not have them appointed by our political masters. That is right. And who was the political master that nominated this judge? Eby, when he was the Attorney General dude of BC. And where is he? He's just coming back from Japan on a cross world tour to showcase BC chocolate and BC potato chips all over the Orient, basically. I know I'm trying not to peter out here, folks, but I am just absolutely stunned considering what Mark Carney was saying. We are going to try and make 13 economies into one, and EV sticking out like a Thor thumb by saying no to a pipeline. I, Justice, Truth, the dude in the house coat, along with a whole host of people, including Albertans, the Premier, and almost everybody on the Western province, want that pipeline built to the East Coast, folks, and we need another one built out to the West Coast. Why? Because let's just say that if the world buys Canadian gas, buys Canadian oil, then the likes of Iran and all these other countries that are squabbling and doing whatever, Israel is no better, but this is not about that yet. But we as a country could be pumping out our good products, but no, we can't do it because of climate change. We're so hammered into this country, and yet we could be so prosperous, and everybody in this country could benefit from the natural gas, the oil, and the other resources that we have that the government could use as benefit to this wonderful great white north. That's why I got that flag. Yes, you see the one that's hiding in the corner. I need a new one for Mr. Carney. Yes. All right. Evie. Yes. The ferry. That's another thing. Oh, what has he been telling us since this whole tariff war starts? Buy Canadian. What did you do, Evie? You went to China. Way to go. Thank you. My tax dollars are helping Z be a little fatter instead of some guy near probably, let's say, Vancouver building the ferry and feeding his family. Instead, you just got another person in the bread line. Is that what you want, Evie? I just read also that many industries are not wanting to come to BC because of our taxes, our regulation, and being involved in UNDRIP from the United Nations that are seeing territories that people used to have access to being denied on the color of their skin, all because we want to do what's right for the indigenous. I am all for doing what's all right for the indigenous, but we've been in a country for so long, and the idea that Joffrey Lake or Tofino Beach being closed for indigenous ceremonies only for the indigenous, I am like horse hockey pucks, man. Seriously, why couldn't Joffrey Lake, in partnership with the local band around there and BC Parks, get together and say, why don't we make awareness of what's going on and why the indigenous value this area and why? You could be doing a service by doing a touristy thing, an educational thing, and people come out more wiser, not dumber and more ignorant, because all these closures are doing is making people ignorant of what the indigenous are doing behind closed doors. We do not need a Bohemian Grove up here, folks, right? Where all the elites go and they sacrifice a mock child. Go look it up. Bohemian Grove in California is a rabbit hole you're welcome to look at. And tell me if you did, because it is a wild ass rabbit hole of a conspiracy. And everybody from George Bush, to a host of other people, folks, and I can list names, royalty and stuff like that, have attended these events. And yes, I'm going on a rant off topic of EB, but sorry for that. I apologize. But today is Long Hair Friday, the show where I want to try and do a free flow of a rant and hopefully be getting better. And that's why it's live. And if you enjoy it, great. If you like it, want to give me a pointer or don't like it, say so. It don't matter. The comments are open and all that. Yes, folks, the trade failures, the failures, EV is not worth it. And then now in BC, we have a new political party. I think it's called BC1, Dallas Brody and Tara Armstrong, former progressive conservative people. Well, good luck, ladies. I hope you do well. But at the end of the day, this is all I will say to the likes of BC1 and the Conservative Party and whoever else can help kick EV out. Just work together. Please, if there's a chance to vote out the government, to make them force an election, or to force Evie to resign, work together. Swallow your pride, do whatever. Other things can happen after. But in the meantime, we need Evie gone. And I also want to make a note out if anybody could tell me what's going on with Bonnie Henry. Teresa Tam is retiring after the 20th, or not really retiring. Her tenure is over. I am worried that the likes of Bonnie Henry will be replacing her because she is still technically getting paid by the likes of Pfizer and Moderna while she is in office or so, like for the BC Health Authority. Yes, folks, and now let's get on to the world. And I'll make a mental note here first, not a mental note, folks, but this is my new dragon. I picked it up, 3D printed. It is quite long. The tail's hanging down there. He is big. I'd go pick him up, but he's just going to stay there. That was made by a fellow who came to a farmer's market. I liked it so much, I bought it. And yeah, he may not be in that position next time you see him, but he is going to be sticking around in my show background, whatever, and such. Now let's get on to the world, folks. And Israel just did what they did, and I'm amazed at some of the precision strikes they had with their Ginsu cruise missile, basically the flying sword precision strike, 2,000 kilometers away, hits the dude's bedroom and kills them with flying blades. Neighbors and everybody else are left intact. That is amazing. I know they attacked their nuclear stockpile of like uranium, not the actual site for the whatchamacallit, their nuclear power, and they did a few other things, a lot of top brass in their military, and the so-called nuclear program for Iran. Iran has retaliated today. I've seen some of the missile strikes, and on a note, folks, isn't it odd that we see more coming out of Israel, Gaza, especially when it's attacks against Israel, versus like the Ukraine war? We've seen more footages coming out from Gaza than the Ukraine war. And that is something else, folks. Isn't that like here we are? United Nations is a joke. We got the Americans trying to negotiate with Iran for a new nuclear deal, and then Israel does what it does. Like, wow, I know America says this is not their war. They had nothing to do with the planning, but they were there in the defense of Israel recently, and yes, their fighter jets were intercepting, missiles and whatnot that were fired by the Iranians into Israel's territory. That conflict is strange, and I'm not strange, sorry, but I will say this: the Bibi Natayu, however you want to say his name, maybe I butchered it, I don't care, but Bibi is his nickname. He has fled to frickin' Greece, folks. The presidential plane of Israel has apparently left. Make that make sense. Hopefully, it's just like his wife, he's still there. But if you're going to be poking the hornet's nest, a, a real leader would stand by and stay in his country, not be a coward, kind of like our former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hiding after he got COVID, right? My God. What kind of world are we living in? Other things that are going on. Ireland, folks. Yes, the Irish are finally had enough after so called three unwanted attentions on minors. Yes, listen to my words very carefully there. After three unwanted attentions to children, the people had enough and are fighting back on them being pushed to accept these migrants. Just like in Canada, now Canada is apparently the number one destination for refugees. And after you hear everybody speaking in the government, we are cutting back. We are cutting back. Horseshit. We are getting more, and I don't want people to come here because this country is already in misery. It is truly in misery, and people are waiting in hospitals, people are waiting for surgery, people are waiting for health care, people are waiting for education, housing, jobs. Oh, the list can go on. I mean, migrants are literally living in the streets as well as Canadians. And you think about the temporary foreign workers program. How many youth have jobs today? Not many. Why? Because almost every company in this country is almost taking advantage of the temporary foreign workers program. So much so that they're buying apartment buildings and kicking out long term people who are elderly out of buildings to make room for these temporary foreign workers. Now, if they actually put that much effort into trying to keep these temporary foreign workers, you think you would hire some local youth. It would be easier. But there is a reason for this. This is why I say, people, you need to read. Now, I'm going to quote off a bunch of things here, only because I'm doing it a roundabout way, because this came from a lot of different information things. Now, one is the WEF, the other is the International Monetary Fund, the Bilderberg Group, and there's a host of others, folks, that talk about wanting to make the workforce global. And one of the goals of the global workforce is actually to reduce the wages in Western dominant countries. You heard me correctly, to lower the wages of the Western countries. Now, in Canada, I can honestly say it is the trucking industry that has been used as the wage reduction and construction and stuff. But let's get back to the trucking. These people are coming from other places that have insane traffic and no due care for life in a way on the highway, and they're being brought over here who've never experienced Canadian winters, and they're given keys and educational training on these big trucks that are inadequate. And here we have accident after accident after accident. I worked in a mill where they hired new truck drivers at a reduced rate. I do not know if they were temporary foreign workers at the time, but they were newer immigrants. and they could not back the trailer up into the hopper to unload the sawdust into the trucks. It held up production at the mill because Canfor, the corporation, insisted on trying to cut the wages of these truck drivers by getting cheaper bids for people to do these services. So quality doesn't always work out that way when you're trying to save money. And that's just like in Canada, folks. Quality, and we're bringing in all these low skilled workers for what? DoorDash, to work at Tim Hortons, to sweep the floor, and then all the kids that are young, including the legal immigrants that have come here, their children have a hard time getting a job because what do we have? We have people coming here from elsewhere on a government program that started off as only needed in certain industries. And look, at give any program that's temporary an inch, it will become a full fledged permanent program. And one last thing, and I know I really wanted to talk about this part, but it's 26 minutes now, and since I haven't done a show in a while, is the governance. Yes, I would like to think that we as Canadians need to wake up and realize our governance is not working for us. It is not. Clearly, if you look at the state of affairs, we have no budget. We have a man spending $500 billion of our money who's immediately increasing our GDP for the NATO commitment, rearming Europe, wants to align to Europe. Again, folks, as Canadians, do you really want to be involved with Europe? Are you asking to join Europe? Because as far as I know, Canadians just wanted to be Canadians. We have our American neighbors who we get along with just fine, despite the rhetorics of Mark Carney and the liberals and our mainstream media. People need to stop listening to mainstream media Canada for all their news and actually venture outside the box, whether it's independent media or even just look at the news from the South and listen to them. More honest than on us Canadians, than our Canadian media is on us. I mean, just recently, the CBC said it is the boomers' fault that aren't retiring that can give younger Canadians a job. They never mentioned the temporary foreign workers program. You never mentioned the fact that people are openly bragging on Canadian streets that they paid $20,000 to come to Canada, get a job, and they're expecting the government to give them a job. They just admitted fraud. They should be deported, sent to jail, paid a fine, whatever. You don't have a sense of entitlement like I witnessed online in Brampton, Ontario, somebody driving on the sidewalk again. And no, it is not a normal Canadian. It is a newer Canadian. And I will hate to say this, probably a newer Canadian that has been given the full benefit of child tax credit, the living out allowance, and everything else, realizing how much money that they get from it, that they can afford a Lexus car and drive around on our dime. While meanwhile, we have people that are homeless, elderly that are homeless, whatever, right? It's just it's not right. Our governance needs to change for the citizens of this country, not for outside NGOs to flood us with people. They want this country by 2100, folks, or 2200, 2100. Yeah, sorry. Year 2100 to have 100 million people in Canada. Wow. Think on that one, folks. And it's almost 30 minutes here. I might as well just cut this short because I can keep going on. This is supposed to be, sorry about that, Friday, long hair professor. My hair is supposed to be down, trying to do a show. I just want to remind you all that scone is lit for anybody that is missing a loved one for whatever reason. I light it for my reasons of missing people that have been in my life who have passed on. And hopefully, you can run us on with that. Also, if you've never been to an SPCA or, never adopted a pet, why not go check out an SPCA? You don't have to go adopt a fur ball, but go have a look at least once. And positive vibes, folks. Have a good day and thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.